Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of He's Not Wrong, and I'm your host, Chad D. Of course, we have a lot of things per usual that we need to discuss in this episode, so we're just going to dive right on in. Something that they don't prepare you for in life is becoming a parent, and specifically becoming a cat dad. So, as I told you before, I got, as all of you know, my co host Gray because I thought that my orange cat Jack needed a friend. Well, recently, Gray found himself in a medical emergency after consuming part of a plastic shopping bag. So I was working away in my office, and Gray walked in and started throwing up pieces of that plastic bag in my doorway. So this started a chain of events that is going to take me approximately 6 to 12 months to recover from. I'm going to talk more about that here in a few minutes, but this all began on Thursday of last week. I noticed that there were some, plastic pieces coming out of this perfect little angel baby body, uh, Gray's body. There were plastic. There was plastic coming out of it. So what did I do? I did what any dad would do. I watched him like a hawk, and thank God that I did because he stopped using the restroom around the same time. So after 24 hours of no litter box use, I decided that it was time to take him to the emergency vet clinic Friday evening. $700 later, he had medicine and fluids and an x ray taken. We thought that all would be well. And for once, I hate to say it, and you'll never hear me say it again, but I was actually wrong because Saturday morning came and still no litter box use, but attempts for the litter box were made. But all this time that came out of him were moans and cries. I decided that it was time to go back to the emergency vet clinic. This time they gave him more aggressive fluids, 3 x-rays, and an overnight stay later. My co-host is finally home, but not before having to pick up another bill. And this time it was in the $1,700 range. So for all of you listening and keeping track, yeah, you heard that right. My total for Gray's weekend at the emergency vet clinic was $2,400 ultimately for my cat to poop. That is why earlier I said that it's going to take about 6 to 12 months for me to financially recover emotionally, physically, mentally. Anyways, all that aside, yes, he really did need to go to the vet and he needed medical attention to pass the remainder of the plastic that was in his system. And you know what? I would happily pay another $2,400 all over again if it means that my sweet little baby Gray is healthy and feels okay. But this experience has me thinking about veterinary prices and how they're just absolutely ridiculous. I'm so, number one, first off, very grateful and thankful for the expertise and love, care, and attention and education that veterinarians have and that they bring into our lives. But I'm genuinely in shock that the vet industry as a whole hasn't progressed beyond the point of just several pet insurance companies really taking off in recent years. So even if you have pet insurance, most of the time you still have to pay upfront while hoping that the insurance company will reimburse you, which is not a guarantee, and which from my experience with friends and family often never happens. So I, for one, am very reluctant to buy pet insurance for $100 a month for that reason, because if I'm paying that much, you best hope that every dollar is reimbursed if I find myself in a medical emergency with one of my pets, as I did this weekend. And you know what? It's also funny because Gray had all last week to do this, but he decided to do it on a weekend, and not only a weekend, but a holiday weekend. So really, I was forced to pay emergency vet prices. So I bring this up because it's on my mind. It's been on my mind for the past few days that I would really wish that there was more innovation and progress being made in the pet healthcare industry because, yes, it was difficult for me to figure out how I was going to pay that amount. I could do it, but it was hard. And I recognize that there are some people out there who couldn't do that on a whim, and they're left with a really tough decision to make. And in all seriousness, I also had to figure out where my line was that I couldn't go past financially. But I don't think anyone should ever have to be faced with that decision when caring for a pet. I say this hoping that you all understand that I believe wholeheartedly that pets are a part of the family and they deserve the same, if not more, love and attention for all that they give to us. So I pray for a day where tough decisions like that don't have to be made, to seek treatment or to seek financial ruin. It's a question that isn't fair, and the industry needs to catch up to making sure that that question doesn't have to be asked anymore. So while I'm on the topic of financial ruin and high costs for goods and services, I also need to tell you about what happened with me and UPS this past week as well. Seriously, the title of this podcast episode is The Week That Tried to End Me, and UPS played a part in that. So essentially, UPS stole $135 from me and they won't give it back. I was out of town and I was expecting a package to be delivered that I needed for work. And if you're wondering what the contents of that package might be, I'll probably address that at a later date and time. But what's important to know is that I needed this package for work and it was delivered on a Friday afternoon to my apartment here in Birmingham, Alabama. But Friday morning, I was in Louisiana until Sunday evening. So given this location change and need for delivery, I had a very good friend, Jeremy, go to my apartment, pick up my package, and overnight it via UPS to my emphasis on temporary location in Louisiana, and paid a emphasis premium for this package to be delivered, guaranteed delivered on Saturday by noon. So Saturday by noon rolls around, and guess what? If you guessed that the package wasn't delivered as guaranteed by paying them the premium, then you, my friend, guessed correctly. The package was nowhere to be found. So I called UPS and they couldn't give me an answer as to why my package had not left the facility in Birmingham. But they said that they were going to try to have it delivered on Monday. But that's not what I asked for, and it's absolutely not what I paid for. I paid for a Saturday delivery because, as you know, I would not be in Louisiana on Monday, and I needed that package well before then. When I told them the location was not my home base and that I wouldn't have access to it beyond Sunday, they said that any changes that needed to be made to the delivery would have to come from Jeremy. They wouldn't listen to me, even though I paid Jeremy and it was my own package that he was shipping to me. They would only speak with Jeremy. So I told Jeremy all about this and he decides to call. So after I think maybe close to an hour of back and forth with UPS, he finally got them to cancel the package, and they said that they were going to deliver it to his house in Birmingham on Monday instead of in Louisiana. So by my standards, that was fine with me because at that point, at least I would have access to it. Whereas if it was up to UPS, I wouldn't have received my goods. Well, again, if you're thinking that UPS didn't listen to us, then you are correct because they proceeded to deliver my package to Louisiana. They didn't uphold their end of the deal, and now they will not refund me my $135. They said that since the package was still delivered, despite being told that it was canceled, despite paying a premium for a specific delivery date, they would not refund the money. So not only did my co-host almost die this past week, UPS robbed me blind, and they won't return any of my communications. And I will be putting this on social media and tagging UPS, and I really hope that I can have all of your support and tagging them in the comment section as well, because I want my $135 back. I am in the hole $2,400 from Gray. I need every dollar that I can get. So with all that being said, this week was literally a week from hell. And so I deeply apologize for the lack of online presence with the He's Not Wrong podcast. But sometimes, life gets in the way and you have to handle it before you can do anything else. And that is what happened here. That is also why you all are getting 2 episodes in one day. It is my way of trying to apologize and make it up to all of you. So with that being said, it wouldn't be a true solo episode without addressing a couple of headlines. And this one specifically, I have been dying to talk about on the podcast. And I hope I'm not late to the game because everyone has kind of already talked about it. But if you're watching the news the past week, you would not have been able to escape hearing about Trump's big, beautiful bill. This bill barely passed the House, and if there were age requirements for Congress and several geriatric Democratic Congress people hadn't died in the past year, then this bill would have failed. But that's a different topic for a different podcast on a different day. But Trump's big, beautiful bill that guts social services even further, that raises taxes on the middle class and gives taxpayer dollars to the ultra wealthy, passed the United States House of Representatives. It will be interesting to see what the Senate comes up with and where the final bill lands. But as of right now, the bill that passed has new work requirements to be eligible for Medicaid that would go into effect on December 31st of 2026. And I have a theory as to why one of the biggest provisions in this bill is widely as unpopular, that deals with Medicare and Medicaid, would go into effect after the midterm. So let's get into it. Midterms, as all of you know, are November 2026, and Republicans, I believe, can read the tea leaves. They know that they have no way of winning both chambers during the midterms. So what's their game plan? Their game plan is to put one of the most unpopular aspects of the big, beautiful bill into effect 2 months later, because they know that they'll be able to run on the next 2 years saying, look at what the Democrats did. Look at what happened to Medicaid while Democrats had the majority in both chambers. And they hope that that will be enough to secure a general election White House win in 2028. They're playing the long game here, something that they've proved time and time again that they're good at playing. The long game is something Democrats have not only been terrible at playing, but they have been terrible at recognizing. So I need right now, all of us, to ring the bell and to raise our flags right now as to the game that Republicans are playing with the big, beautiful bill in the upcoming midterms. Republicans hope with every fiber of their being that we are too dumb to recognize the moves that they're making. They're hoping that their followers don't ask questions and just believe every word that they are saying per usual. Jen Psaki did it best on her show, where she calls out Congress people for saying that they'll do one thing and then go and do the complete opposite. And this is the kind of energy that I need all of us to be utilizing when dealing with our elected officials. They hope that we have short-term memory and lack the ability of fact-checking and looking back at previous comments and stances. The majority of Republicans in the House said that they weren't going to touch Medicare and Medicaid. And then what did they do after publicly stating their stance? They went against it and voted to do exactly what they said that they wouldn't do. Another perfect example of this is when Hurricane Helene hit the eastern states of the U.S., Joe Biden was criticized endlessly for not doing enough regarding a federal response to the natural disaster. You couldn't get on social media without seeing someone sharing a hot take and raking him over the coals. So one thing is true. Biden has absolutely done more than Trump to help. Trump was Biden's biggest critic on this, using his criticism to buy free or to earn free earned media and press conferences because he understood the optics of what occurred. Trump understood that people want the federal government's help in times like these, and he played these people in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and the Carolinas like a damn fiddle. Not only did he promise these people help and more help than what Biden was giving, but he also just recently denied FEMA claims to North Carolina after saying that Biden abandoned the state. So let's not kid ourselves here. What Trump has actually done in North Carolina is abandon them. By no means am I saying the Democratic Party is perfect, because we are not. But I can guarantee it that the idea of helping our neighbors is more ingrained in our policies and beliefs than Republicans would ever be comfortable accepting. So here's another headline for you. Trump grants full pardons to Julie and Todd Crisley. Okay, people, this one truly shocked me. I'm not going to lie. So to give you the TLDR, the too long don't read, Todd and Julie Crisley were serving prison sentences for bank fraud and tax evasion, and they were convicted in 2022 of conspiring to defraud community banks, defraud the IRS, and commit tax evasion. Todd Crisley was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, while Julie Crisley received a 7-year sentence. And ever since they reported to federal prison, Savannah has hit the ground running, trying to free her parents while maintaining their innocence. Often, stating misconduct on part of the Justice Department, a witch hunt of epic proportions. Before Trump formally announced that he was even running for a second term, Savannah waged all her bets that he would get another stay in the White House, and she stuck with him against all odds. After Trump personally called Savannah from the Oval Office to share the news with her that they were pardoning her parents, she took to Instagram to share her thoughts. There was excitement, there were tears, but she said something that stood out to me and quite honestly made me irate. She thanked Trump. She told him that she will forever stand by his side no matter what. And then she added that she loves Trump for what he is doing to support families and to bring families together. So before I fully dive in with what I want to say, let me state this for the record because I do not want to get it confused or misconstrued. We should always celebrate when a broken family is brought back together. I do not care about the circumstances. We should celebrate when families are reunited. So personally, I am happy that Todd and Julie will be able to start anew and hopefully with a new perspective on life from what they have learned from other people from different backgrounds in federal prison. I might not like Savannah. I truly don't. But Todd and Julie, they were always kind to me and lovely. And so I genuinely am happy for them. Now on to what I didn't like about what Savannah said, that Trump is about bringing families together and supporting them. Girl, are you okay? Are you mentally stable? Do you watch the news? Because if you did, you would absolutely know that you cannot make a blatant statement like that and actually believe it to be truth. Did he support your family? Sure. Does your family also have money and a platform and a privilege that everyday Americans don't have access to? Absolutely. You've benefited from being able to utilize your status and wealth for your own benefit and your own gain, and no one else can say that. If you watched any credible news source, you would absolutely know that the Trump administration has deported people who were here legally with no outlet or opportunity to come back into our country and to their families. At least this entire time, you knew that there was an end date with your parents. You knew that there would always be a light at the end of the tunnel and that they would be coming home. There are many people out there who cannot say the same, and they lack every resource that your position in life has afforded you due to no fault of their own. If you really cared about anyone other than your own family or position in this world, you would have helped lift up other individuals who could have used a pardon along with your father and your mother. You would have put other cases in front of Trump and used your position and fame and wealth to help others. That is if you actually cared about prison reforms and families aside from your own, but you don't. You only care about yourself, so stop lying to yourself and to everyone. You've only cared about yourself and what serves your best interests, and I'm going to end it there. That's my thought on that before I get too deep into this, before I say anything I'm going to regret. I'm just going to end it there. Those are my thoughts on the Grizzlies pardons. So that being said, those are my thoughts on the headlines. I'm going to take just a quick break and then we're going to come back and I have a voice memo that I'm going to play for all of you and then we're going to call it a day. Okay, everyone, I am back and I have a voice memo from Sweet Jeremy, my friend who I was talking about earlier in this episode with my UPS drama. He came in clutch and now he's just in this middle of this ongoing saga and drama. I did not ask him for this audio message. He sent it to me. And I believe I try not to listen to these audio messages when I get sent them so you get a live reaction. But I can see the text, you know, and I think it is on the theme of being financially ruined by corporations. So let's play what Jeremy is not wrong about.
I actually have somewhat of a similar story that happened to my friend Christina today. It does not have to do with UPS. It has to deal with Hot Works, but I thought you'd also be interested. So she's had her, sorry, I'm out of breath. I was just playing with Ruby. She's had her Hot Works subscription for 5 years, okay? $69 a month. Hasn't been in 3 years. Okay. Has let it gone on for 3 years without going. Anyways, today she was like, I'm canceling it. So she signed up at one in Atlanta. She now lives in Chicago. Um, so she called the Atlanta store or the Atlanta location she went to, and she was just like, hey, I'd like to cancel it. And mind you, she's already tried like 4 different times, and they've been like, you have to be in person, you have to send a letter, like Planet Fitness type shit. Anyways, so she finally called them today and was just like, look, I'm canceling it. I don't care what your policy is. Like, I need to cancel this subscription. So the girl was like, okay, yeah, we can do that for you. So just so you know, like, to cancel, it is like 2 months. The fee is 2 months of membership. So 69 times two. And she was just like, okay, like, is there any way to get that, like, waived? Like, I don't really understand why you're charging me 2 months of membership to cancel. And then the girl was like, well, that's just like our current policy, but new members that have been with us only for 6 months, that fee is waived. So, like, we aren't charging new ones, but old ones we are. And I'm like, first of all, why would you even say that to someone? But second of all, what fucking sense does that make? So Christina was like, okay, well, I'd like you to ask your manager if you guys could like waive 1 month of the fee and I'll pay half of it, or waive it entirely considering I've been a member for 5 years. So at that point, I think a long-term member deserves a little bit more, you know, leeway and a little bit more respect than someone who's been there for 6 months and then they just get to cancel their policy for free. Like, what fucking sense does that make? So, anyways, the girl was just like, yeah, I guess I'll ask my manager. And then Christine was like, I just really appreciate that. And she was like, okay, I'll do it if that's what you want. Like, I'll go ask them. So, anyways, she was just like, I'll call you back later, though. Like, I can't go do it right now. The girl was just so unprofessional and rude. But finally, they texted back and they were like, hey, my boss said, they texted her instead of calling back. My boss said that we could waive half of the membership fee only if you cancel in person, though. We won't be doing that for like a over the phone one. And she was like, I'm literally canceling it because I don't even live in that city anymore. I just have to call you to cancel it. And they're like, sorry, then you'll have to pay the full fee. And I'm like, what is wrong with these companies? That's how they all get so fucking rich, is they just scam us. We're just being scammed over and over and over and over again. And that's what I'm not wrong about. There you go.
Oh my God, Jeremy. Okay, thank you for sending that in first and foremost. I also really want to state for the record that I really appreciate the drama and the excitement and the inflection and just the overall emotion that a gay man can bring to a story that you otherwise would not get from anyone else. Because I really feel Christina's pain and the annoyance of her having to pay this ridiculous fee. With Hotworks. So I want to start out by saying I am an avid Hotworks user, and I have been for I think 4 years now. I have not missed a monthly payment. I love, 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 love Hotworks. I have the unlimited package, so I can go to any Hotworks across the country. This is not a Hotworks promotion, but I just love it that much. I've talked about my 60-pound weight loss journey that occurred a few years ago. I can accredit a lot of that to Hotworks. So I do love the Hotworks company, what they stand for, the brand. I do love them generally. I do not like what they're doing to your friend, though. That is absolutely ridiculous. I would expect that from a Planet Fitness or for the people in the Northeast, like a Blink, um, maybe a Crunch Fitness. That I would expect that from them, not from Hotworks. You're paying a lot of money to utilize Hotworks 24/7 facilities. I would expect the customer service to be a bit better. I will say it might just be location based uh, for what she's experiencing because I was, like I said, an avid user. I was a member of the Montgomery facility and they knew me by name. They loved me. I went in all the time and I needed to cancel my membership when I moved to Birmingham. And I called them to cancel so I could switch my membership up here over the phone. No issue. So I think what she experiencing, what she experiencing, I think is really specific to that location and not to the Hotworks, brand corporation as a whole, because I've had a lovely experience, but that does not mean that she has had a awful experience. And I hate that for her. And Jeremy, you are absolutely not wrong that these companies are getting away with getting rich off of our backs and then treating us like crap. And then there's no repercussions, there's no regulations, and there's no way for us to, seek justice. And I think that is just a travesty. Thank you for sending that in, Jeremy. And that everyone is today's episode. I appreciate you listening. I hope you listened to my Original Sin book review. Jake Tapper's publicist sent me an early copy of the book to be able to do a review. I am late on that review for obvious reasons I have addressed in this video. And then I also discuss in the book review episode. But that episode is out now. I hope to do more book reviews like this in the future. So please be sure to go check that out. Be sure to head over to @He'sNotWrongPodcast on Instagram and leave me a voice DM about what you're not wrong about. Or you could always give me a call at 205-538-3202 and leave me a voicemail about what you're not wrong about. I would be happy to share your audio message or voicemail on an upcoming solo episode in the future. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Share it with your loved ones, share it with your friends and family. Please be sure to leave me a review on podcasts, on the Apple Podcast app, on Spotify, on wherever you get your podcasts. Please help me out and leave a review. It's the greatest way that you can support this endeavor of mine. And with all that being said, I'll see you next Sunday.